Hello students, today is the last lecture of this course as well as the unit 4, the design of that crankshaft. This is the second part of this design of the crankshaft. So in the last lecture we have discussed the introductory part of the crankshaft where we have uh, just see what are the functions of these crankshaft, what are the different components, and then we design the center crankshaft, and now we are going to design the side crankshaft. So crankshaft, we already know the important part of the IC engine, which converts the reciprocating motion of the piston into the rotary motion through the connecting rod. And basically we have three components: crank pin, crank web, and the shaft. So we have two types of crankshaft: side crankshaft and center crankshaft. Center crankshaft we have already studied the design part of this. Now we are going to start the next part. The last part of this is a side crankshaft. So design of a side crankshaft. Before starting this, we have some certain assumptions linked to it. That the engine is vertical and the crank is at the TDC position, top dead center position. As you can already, we have already discussed that point also in the center crankshaft. Next, the belt drive is horizontal. Again, we have also seen in the last lecture of the center crankshaft that P1 and P2 are horizontal. That means the belt drive is horizontal, and the last thing is the crankshaft is simply spotted on the bearings. These are the certain assumptions we have taken before start designing the side crankshaft. Again, the force that will be again the force transferred by the connecting rod PP is a pi d square by 4 into P max, and that's maximum pressure by the piston. D is the diameter of a piston, and that force is transmitted from the piston to the crank pin through the connecting rod, and that force is how much? The PP force. So again I have drawn one equivalent diagram for this. That is, as I already said, that the side crankshaft is one type of overhang beam, so it is also called as a overhang crankshaft also. So we have a reaction R1 because of this bearing 1, because in this case we only have a 2 bearings instead of 3 bearings, that is unlike that in the last case we have a 3 bearings in the case of center crankshaft. W1 and W2. W1 and W2 are the loads. In we can say that W1 is the load because of this PP. That W1 is nothing but PP. That is, the PP is a force acting on the crank pin because of the transferred by the connecting rod. And this W2 is basically the point where this load or weight happens, or is occurred, or we can say P1 and P2 in general form. I can say W P1 P2 is this part. So again that this diagram is divided into two different parts. One are the reaction R1. This R1 reaction is R1 and R2 reaction on the bearing 1 and 2, just because of this load PP, or we can say this force PP, plus this this part. So again we have two parts. One is a diagram because of this PP load. One is a diagram because of this W and P1 P2 load. So R1 dash and R2 dash represent that reactions because of the flywheel, whereas only R1 and R2 without dash means the reactions because of this this PP acting alone. That means if PP acting alone, these are the R1 and R2 are the reactions, whereas if W load, that is of the weight of the flywheel, or P1 and P2, that is a slack side and tension side of a belt is occurring, then in that case will be the R1 dash and R2 ds reactions. So I have firstly before going on forward, we have bearing reactions to find out, to proceed further. So again we have this left hand side part, where we have considered that basically we divide into three categories. One is the vertical, because these two are because of the vertical plane, and these are the horizontal plane, third part. Next, this part is because of the only force PP is acting. PP means the force acting from the piston to the through the connecting rod to the crank pin, and this is why we have a reaction R1V and R2V. But in this case this is a vertical plane, but because of the load W only, and that W load will be because of the flywheel part. Third part is the horizontal component part, where we have only P1 and P2 forces that acts in a horizontal direction. So because of this horizontal direction, we have a horizontal reactions on the bearing, that is R1 dash H and R2 dash H. So simply we can say this is a vertical plane diagram, this is again a vertical plane diagram, and this is a horizontal plane diagram. So when I talk about the vertical plane diagram, based on that key only this force PP is acting, we consider that in this case we see that there is no W and P1 P2, we only have a PP forces. In that case, what are the R1 and R2? So simply I can calculate, again taking the moment about 2 point, and you calculate the PP into B plus C is equal to R1B into, because PP is creating the anti-clockwise movement and this is creating the right hand side movement. To maintain the equilibrium, the movement about this 2 is assumed to be 0. You will get the value of R1B. Similarly, when I take the moment about this R1, this 1 point, that's PP into B and R2 into C, you get the value of R2 like this. So this is how you will get the R1V and R2V, the reactions. And why this reaction is downward? Just to maintain the equilibrium. So to maintain this equilibrium, this is like just like we can say force balance diagram, seesaw like diagram, where we have to equal force to maintain this board system into the equilibrium. So we have to make this act as a fulcrum like thing. So this have to be act downward, not upward, because to maintain the equilibrium. This can, but if you take it in vertical direction, then only again you will get the same result, but the sign will be opposite. Here you will get the negative. If you consider the above, this direction is upside, you get this minus here. That means you have to remove this minus, you have to make this direction downward, so you will get the same diagram. Secondly, when I talk about this vertical plane, but because of this load W, so again taking this is one type of a simply supported beam. You take the moment about this 1 point and you calculate the R2 dash V, and then you take the moment about 2 point and you calculate the R1 dash V. So you will get the two reactions, R1 dash V and R2 V dash. So W into C2 is equal to R1 dash V into C. This is total distance C. So you get the R1 dash V and R2 dash V. Similarly, for the last case, you will get the horizontal reactions R1 dash H and R2 dash H. Taking the move again, this is a one type of simply supported beam, where we will calculate the reactions R1 dash H and R2 dash H, and this is how you will calculate all the 6 reactions again, because this is R1, R2, R1, R2, R1 dash, R2 dash, horizontal and vertical component. Next is the design of a crank pin. So here we have again DC is the diameter of a crank pin, length of the crank pin similar to the previous case. We have this now dimensions of a pin means I want to calculate the LC and DC. LC again you will calculate using that previous formula, that we assume that the forces are uniformly distributed, and because of this the pressure will be force by area. Pressure will be the PB, the force will be PP, by area is DC into LC. This DC into LC, so you will get the LC from this side. And also we have one empirical relation for this LC by DC ratio, that is 0.6 to 1.4. so using this LC by DC ratio and this LC, you will calculate both the dimensions of LC and DC. PP is the allowable bearing pressure at the crank pin bush. Again it will be varies from 10 to 12 megapascal. So next is the bending stresses in crank pin. We want to know how many bending stresses are to be created at this on this pin, and it is allowable or not. So for that, one simple case is considered that either we assume that this force PP acts uniformly distributed along this bar, and in that case the overall load acts at the center of this, and you will calculate this PP into L by 2. This or in other words we can say that we assume that firstly in the first case we assume that the load is uniformly distributed along this crank pin. In that case we can say that the equivalent load will act at the center of this PP will act at the center, PP into the moment will be L by 2, so that means PP into LC by 2. Or you can say that this PP acts at the edge of this point, this PP will concentrate it at the edge of this point, then again it will be act as a cantilever beam, so PP into LC. So we take the mean of both the cases, and what you will have now, PB, when you sum up and divide it by 2, then that is mean of these two moments, you will get 3 by 4 PC LC by C. So in that case we assume that it not lies at the center, it not lies at the edge, but at a distance of 0.75 LC. Here's the dimension, 0.75 LC. That means this PP is not at the center and not at the edge, but it lies something at the 0.75 time LC from this point, and that is what the bending stress in the crank pin is calculated. Other dimensions remain the same, that I will be equal to again pi d by 4, y will be equal to d by 2, because the it will be the distance of maximum displacement, we can say, where deformation occurs. So sigma b will be again for the bending equation, m upon I sigma upon y. You calculate the value of sigma here, and substituting back into all these expression, you will get this expression, and using this expression you calculate the value of sigma b now. And if this sigma b is now within the range of this allowable bending stress of the material of this crank pin, then the design is safe. Otherwise we have to think of the dimensions of the component. This is how we design the crank pin. Now second last is a crank web. Again same thing, we have already done this in the last case also, but in this case we only have one web. So this force is acting on the, we can say the force acting on one side. Again eccentric loading is there, you just shift this force to this point, then it will be PP here. But in addition to this PP, we also have a movement, as I said earlier. Whenever you move the forces or shift the forces, the force will shift, but in addition to it the movement will also be shifted. A couple is there also, that PP into X, this force PP into X, and we all know that basically it is equal to 0.75 LC. So that's why this is equal to PP into 0.57 LC, and this is how you will calculate. This is the diagram for this. So again you have a compressive stress because of this PP. The PP will by area is what, W into T, thickness is T, this thickness is T, and this W, so W into T, so sigma C will be PP by WT. The empirical relationship, again you can take it that the T will be equal to 0.7 DC and the width will be equal to, you will calculate the value of direct compressive stress. Now again at the central plane, when you are going to calculate the moment, that will be equal to what, the force PP into 0.75 LC plus, but because 0.755 LC up to this point, so plus T by 2 thickness of this web. So this is the overall bending moment at the center of this, we can say at the center, acting at the center of this web part. So again I will be equal to WT cube by 12, the bending moment, the area moment of inertia. This Y will be equal to T by 2, plane where maximum deflection was there. Sigma b will be equal to bending equation, m upon I sigma upon y. So you calculate the value of sigma b from here, and the total compressive stress will be the sum of these two components. And if this stress is the less than the allowable stress, then it will be the safe. Otherwise crank web is to be redesigned. The last part of this side crankshaft is the flywheel part. Now flywheel part, again in flywheel again we have two different type of loads, W and P1 plus P2. The movement because of this W, that will give you the vertical component of the movement, and movement because of this P1 plus P2 will give you the horizontal component of the movement, and you will find out the resultant movement. So bending moment in the vertical plane will be equal to what, MBV, that will be equal to force PP, this force PP into B plus C1, because we are talking about this W, so we can consider the overhang case. The total case is there, so force into deflection DC about the center point, minus, because this is, let's say, anti-clockwise and we are taking the clockwise to positive, then R1V plus R1 dash V will be into C1. So this will be the moment about the vertical plane, this about center of this flywheel. So this is the overall bending moment. Similarly for the horizontal plane, you will only have two forces, R1 dash H and R2 dash H. So R1 dash H into C1, that will be give the bending moment in the horizontal plane. So now next what you will do is, you have the horizontal component of the movement, you have the vertical component of the movement. You will just find out the overall resultant moment, that will be equal to sum of the square of this. And once you find out, you will get the value of sigma b, bending stress in the this flywheel case. So if this, again you will determine this sigma b, and if this stress is less than the allowable stress, then the design is okay. Otherwise we have to redesign it. So otherwise design is not safe, we can say. So this completes the part of the crankshaft. So in crankshaft we have only considered that the position of a crank pin is when the position is TDC basically. There is also another case, that is when it is having at some angle where maximum pressure is to be transferred. So from a course point of view, uh, course content point of view, this is the what we have studied up to this. And if you found some doubt, you can contact me. And thanks, and have a nice day.